Alrighty, we'll see how this goes. This is like was not this was not supposed to be this late. We had some technical difficulties, so that's why this is a little later than expected. But we figured it out, y'all. We figured it out. That's what's important, right? So we're here. Depending on how this live goes, will be determined on how long we go live, essentially. But yeah, obviously we'll see how this goes. More people that come in, the longer we'll go. But if it's not going to be too many people, then we'll probably end this one earlier. But what is going on, everybody? I appreciate everyone being here for like a late night live stream. I have a video that I have to get out tonight also. So that's another like thing I got to do still. But Danny, No Love Entertainment, Burley, Cam, PS Absolute, Brody, Devon, stay out of my lunchbox. Homie B, Bill Belichick, Rise Productions, Ashley. What is going on, y'all? How are we? I thought we would do a live stream, which I feel like we haven't done in a while, where we just answer questions. I know that we've been pretty busy with the draft and whatnot, so I know a lot of question marks are probably surrounding Pat's Nation, and obviously doing a live stream at 10 might not have been the best time to answer those questions. But like I said, we were supposed to go earlier, and that didn't work. Dylan, what is going on? Adam, what is going on? Remy, what's going on? Nate P, buddy, what is going on? But obviously maybe this wasn't the best time to do it. But like I said, some technical difficulties did occur. But I just know there's some question marks, like where do the Patriots go now? Like what's the future? And I think a lot of people just have question marks between free agency, between drafts. So, drop your question marks and we'll pop up. Actually, give me 1 second as I go real quick to the live stream. Maybe it's this one. Whatever. All right. Okay. All right, where is it? It's over here. All right. All right, let me trade up. What am I saying, yo? See some of the settings on this microphone. I haven't actually tested this. Let's figure. Is that better? No, I don't like that. Yeah. That's probably this one. All right. It's also a weird kind of spot for the mic, not gonna lie. Do I foresee a potential top 5 defense? Oh, wait. Do I foresee a potential top 5 defense this upcoming season? So, yeah, I do. I think the Patriots defense did take a pretty big step back this past year. And I don't think that enough people gave that credit. I don't know if enough people wanted to come to terms with that, maybe. But this defense took a bigger step back than the offense did. And I think that was pretty clear. I mean, the defense went from being the best in 2019 to not being one of the best in 2020. So I'm very excited because I think this defense will take that tremendous leap forward. You look at their depth chart, which let me see. Actually, I have it right here. It's probably picking up stuff that way, which is why you hear more of that. Maybe I can go like this a little more. But you look at this defense and you brought back a lot of your starters, but you also added depth pieces. But better quality starting pieces compared to what you had in 2019, or not 2019, but 2020. You brought back Lawrence Guy, who was your best defensive tackle, to a 4-year deal. We'll see if he outweighs that. You brought back Dietrich Wise, who was your best pass rusher. You add Devon Godshaw in the middle of your interior of your defensive line, which is a very good leadership addition for the Patriots, a veteran addition, someone who's going to help stop the run. But I think it also goes a little bit underappreciated for his ability to get to the quarterback. Not necessarily get to the quarterback, but just apply pressure. And then you add Christian Barmore to that too. I think this defensive line is what has held the Patriots back for so long. Chase, calm down a little. Yeah. Okay. But I feel like this defensive line is what held the Patriots back for a little bit. And I think that this could be one of the best spots, for lack of better words, throughout the entirety of the Patriots. Not even defense, but just team in general, is that defensive line. Christian Barmore, he had picked up. I think a lot of people are expecting a little too much from him at once. I think that as time goes on, he'll get better and better, but I'm not expecting him week 1 to come out and shine like a superstar. I think people need to tame their expectations to start the season here. But a guy who can get to the quarterback, a guy who can stop the run. Patriots really haven't had that type of defensive tackle since probably Wilfork, to be completely honest with you. I can't think of anybody else besides Wilfork that had the ability to do both at a high level. And I think Christian Barmore has the ability to do so. At least he proved that in college. I mean, you're not now going to rely on someone like Akeem Spence. You're not going to have to rely on somebody like a Byron Cowart. You have people like Devon Godshaw and Lawrence Guy you can rely on. And then you also have someone like Christian Barmore, who you drafted, who was supposed to be a first-round defensive tackle talent, and probably one of the best defensive tackles that we've seen throughout the last few years, obviously besides Quinnen Williams. And you look at the revamped linebacker core. Dante Hightower is coming back. I think that, look, you're not going to get a bunch of production from Dante Hightower. You never did, but the leadership and the role he plays as a veteran leader and controlling the defense and the way he can point things out, that is what he brings. And I really don't think we had that last year, at least in the middle of the field, the way that Dante Hightower was able to call things because he was so close to the line. So I think getting him back is going to be just a tremendous, tremendous upgrade for the Patriots. And then guys, going into year 2, Josh Uche, who else is going into year 2? Kyle Duggar. Hopefully an Anthony Jennings can take that leap forward too. I think big things are expected from Anthony Jennings. I expected much bigger things from him in 2020. That didn't really happen. So I'm hoping Jennings takes that leap forward that we didn't really get to see from him in his rookie season. But with a full offseason, I am expecting these guys from last year to develop a whole lot more compared to what we saw last season. And then, I mean, for the most part, your secondary is contained. You're getting back what you've had over the last few years. And although you have question marks about the future, if we're just going to talk about 2021, yeah, you do have guys who are coming back for that secondary, that elite secondary you've had for several years. J.C. Jackson, Devin McCourty, Adrian Phillips, Stephon Gilmore, Jonathan Jones. So very, very excited for that secondary. Really doesn't bring much problems right now. But of course, next year, you're going to have a lot of question marks surrounding the secondary, at least from this time and this standpoint. But yeah, I mean, this defense, I mean, I feel like last year, like around this time last year, we were looking at guys again, just like a Carl Davis, a Byron Cowart, and Akeem Spence. Like, you're looking at the guys who probably won't even make the roster this year, and you're looking at them being your starters like a year ago now. So it's just crazy how in a year things can just change up tremendously. And I think what the Patriots have now as starters, but even what the Patriots have as depth, which is just as important as your starters, is like day and night compared to what it was again a year ago from now. So I think this team has the ability to be top 5, but I think the question mark is going to be, look, you have so many new guys coming in. Again, you have like Christian Barmore, he's new. Devon Godshaw, he's new. Henry Anderson, Matt Judon. You have a lot of guys who are new, and you're going to just ask yourself, like, hey, are they going to be able to make that transition? Are they going to be able to play in our scheme. So hopefully they can do that. But I mean, again, you're also getting pieces back. Like I said, Dante Hightower and Kyle Van Noy. So it does bring an insurance policy also. Ashley with a dono. Yes, sir. We love to see it. I believe that is the first dono of today. Ashley Lovato is the GOAT. We already know. Are there any glaring concerns that I have for the team? Let me look at the depth chart just one more time and just give it a quick scroll. See if anything jumps off exactly to me. I mean, I guess that you could, like, if you want to be a little bit more nitpicky, I would say your kick returner. Right now, your kick returner and your punt returner is Gunnar Olszewski. An elite punt returner, not a great kick returner. And we saw that. The Patriots need to figure something out at kick returner for sure. I feel like that's something that since Cordero Patterson left, the Patriots kind of have struggled to find. Before Patterson, it was like Dion Lewis. And they just haven't really found that guy since Patterson left. So I don't know if Gunnar Olszewski will take that leap forward as a kick returner. I mean, I'm not saying he can't, but I just think he excels as a punt returner rather than a kick returner. I think the Patriots need to find someone there at kick returner. Maybe somebody like a Isaiah Zuber from last year. I know he has experience doing so, super fast. Maybe he's somebody who can take over that role, and that's how he carves himself out a 53-man roster spot. But you don't want it to be a situation where you have Sony Michel or James White or Brandon Bolden doing these kick returns, because I mean, they're really not going to get much for you. It's not a threat, and you want to put your offense in the best position possible. Like, we want to help this offense as much as we possibly can. Although it's upgraded for sure, you don't want to, totally just say, oh, all right, we upgraded, leave them out there and hopefully they'll do their job. Like, no, we still want to help them and kind of ease into things for sure. So kick returner is definitely still a question mark. And then I would also say, like, if you kind of want to go to offense, I would say you want to look at that wide receiver position a little bit more. I still think they will add somebody at receiver. I think they have to add somebody at receiver, and it can't be just some no name. It has to be at least like an average named guy, because you look at what they have. You have Nelson Aguilar, you have Kendrick Bourne, who are two new guys coming in. We don't know how they're going to do. Look, if you get last year's Nelson Aguilar, spectacular, and it's a huge upgrade compared to what we had last year. I mean, I think either way, it's a huge upgrade compared to what we had last year. But if you kind of get that Nelson Aguilar from a couple years ago with the Eagles and the catch issues, then you're like, ooh, this addition didn't really work out. I think Kendrick Bourne is going to be a really, really amazing addition. Like, people are not giving him enough credit. People are like, he's a number 3 receiver at best. Like, he will fit so good in the Patriots system, and he's already working just so hard from what we've seen. So I think he'll be a really good addition. But again, like, he's not a number 1 receiver. Maybe he could be your number 2. At some point. I don't think off the bat he's going to be your number 2, but I think, we signed for 3 years. So at some point he could become that number 2 guy, but he's not going to be a number 1 guy for sure. And you still need more guys other than a Kendrick Bourne. And then Jacoby Myers, of course, is great. He's not a number 1 receiver, like a number 2. But I mean, you kind of look outside of those guys and it's question marks, and even that group of Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, and Jacoby Myers, it's not too scary. Like, that defensive coordinators aren't going to look at that and be like, shoot. Now, yeah, it's again so much more upgraded compared to what it was last year. And the defensive coordinators are going to have to game plan against these guys more than they have had to, I would say, the last couple of years. But still, it's nothing that's going to jump off the board too much. Behind those guys, and you have to compensate for injuries. And that's one of my big things here too. Is behind Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, you have guys like N'Keal Harry. He hasn't gotten it going at all. Gunnar Olszewski, we haven't really seen anything from him as an actual receiver. What are we going to get from Trey Nixon? I'm not putting my money on him. For all we know, he could be released by the Patriots for 53-man roster cutdowns. He's only a 7th round pick. And then you have like a Matthew Slater, Christian Wilkerson, and Isaiah Zuber, and a Devin Smith also. So really no guys that jump off the board. The majority of those guys are, probably going to be cut. Isaiah Zuber, I think, brought some promise as a receiver. We haven't really seen too much, but I think the only way he's going to make the team would be if he can get in on like that kick returner, like I recently talked about. Devin Smith likely cut. Question marks. We don't know how Trey Nixon's going to do. And then, like I said, Gunnar Olszewski really with those question marks on can he make that stride as a receiver. We know that he has that ability, the elite ability on special teams, but not too much as a receiver. So I would say adding a body there, you definitely still need. And I know we got Jonnu Smith, we got Hunter Henry, and those are definitely going to take the attention away a bit from these receivers. But you do have to understand, like, receiver is still a very, very, very big part. I mean, tight ends over the last few years have finally adapted into becoming more receiving threats and becoming more into the receiving game of the offense. But it used to not be like that. It used to be strictly the wide receivers. So these receivers are still going to be very important despite still having these two tight ends. The Patriots aren't going to run two tight end sets every single play. So you do still have to rely on these receivers. And like I said, you got to compensate for injuries. So I would say those are probably a couple of areas of concern that I would still have. And you already know, my brother, Mr. Automotive, when we get a donation, we stop what we are doing. We go right to the donation because, hey, the donators just get the privilege of getting the priority. That's just a gimme. But my brother, Mr. Automotive, is back at it, my bro. I love you. You said, I'm back. Let's go, people. Mr. Automotive, sir, you already know. You've been showing out like a real one. Our savior, Mr. Automotive. I appreciate it, my guy. It's a late one, bro. I know it's a late one. I usually don't go this late, so I was kind of hesitant. But the fact that we have 74 people in here, kind of surprising. So, like, shout out to the Patriots Global family. Y'all still showing out. I feel like I still got to add something, guys. I got to add something. It's still missing something. I know. I'm not sure what it is. I still have some, like, a bunch of Patriot stuff. I just got to figure out the setup. Got to figure it out, and I just don't know what. It doesn't look bad. Like, it's still good, but, like, it's missing. You can't even see, like, the one poster I have right there. That actually might have been better. No. I don't know. I got to figure it out. I got to figure out my setup. I want to get like a Patriots Global, like, neon light. Actually, for Christmas, I actually got a Patriots light up, like, neon sign. But if you know neon signs and those, like, glass bolt, that thing broke, like, right away. So I got to send it back. But that thing's going to look good. But Mr. Automotive, buddy, I already appreciate it. All right. What's the next question? And we also got another donation here from RLCSG2 fan. I appreciate you also. You said, let me take a drink. Let me take a drink real quick. You said, who do you think will give the best defensive efforts this season or this year? Gilmore, JC Jackson, or any of the D-line? That's a great question. That's a really good question. So who do I think will give the best defensive effort? Honestly, I think the revamped defensive line is going to be a game changer. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Because if you look at it, the defensive line is the first point of attack to the offense, right? If you can't get pressure, your defensive backs aren't going to look too good because, at some point, a receiver, a tight end, a running back, they're going to get open at some point, right? Although if you have a defensive line who can quickly get pressure, then these receivers don't have time to get open. The quarterback's under pressure. He needs to make a quick decision, and that is how your defensive backs can make more plays. We saw these DBs make so much more plays, and I think overall look better in 2019 compared to what we saw in 2020. And I think that was a big portion of the defensive line and also the pressure rate from the linebackers. So I think overall, I think that the defensive line is what's going to stand out the most to people. I truly, truly believe that. So revamped compared to what it was last year. Like I said, day and night. It's exactly what that's going to look like compared to what we saw last year. So I'm super excited. I think that, we were one of the last teams in the league in pressure rate. And we were one of the last teams also in actual sack total. So I think that that's going to go up a lot more also. You look at, again, the defensive line, the first point of attack. I think they're going to be much better compared to what we've seen in years. But also, now your linebackers is also revamped. So they're going to do a bulk of their work too. And because of how revamped that D-line is, these guys are just going to help each other get open. And I just think overall, stopping the run, but more importantly, pressure, sacks, and just ultimately because of that, forcing the quarterback to make more mistakes, we're going to see much more bigger plays from this defense. I think it's going to be such a fun season to watch because this defense is revamped and it's going to give the offense more opportunities. So I think that defensive line is probably the bigger effort you'll see all around. Again, all of these guys are going to give their effort, but I think you're going to be more surprised by the D-line more so than any other position. Ooh. Another donation. My freaking PG family is coming in hot tonight. That's how we like it. Y'all are coming in hot. Coming in hot. Also, for those who are a part of Patreon or are looking to be a part of Patreon, our monthly Zoom meeting, because if you're a part of Patreon, we have like a monthly Zoom meeting where everyone who's in the Patreon group and myself, we all kind of have a Zoom meeting and talk. That's going to be coming up soon. So if you thought about becoming a Patreon and you want to join that, definitely look into it. But you said frags for break fast are 6. You said, do you think Brissett should get a second chance? Very interesting. Very interesting. You bring up a point. You bring up a very good point. So for those who don't know, Brissett drafted by the Patriots, then traded by the Patriots to acquire Dorsett. And then Brissett went to the Colts, played there for a few years, and now he's with Miami. Ultimately, I think they'll still roll with Tua, but I don't know if Tua's going to take that like big leap that they're expecting compared to last year. And I know that last year they were kind of hesitant, and that's why they played Fitzmagic and they also played Tua. So I definitely think that we could see Brissett, and I don't think he's a bad quarterback. Now, did I want the Patriots to sign him to be the starting quarterback? No, just because, look, I want to be a contender, and Brissett isn't going to be like the best like not defensive, but the best quarterback and the guy who's going to win you the most games and just be a dominant quarterback. But I do think he is a good quarterback. I think he is an above average backup and an average starter. Maybe a little, I wouldn't even say below. I'd say probably in to average to maybe slightly below average. No, I'm going to go with average. I would say an average starter, and then above average backup. I think that he just brings very good dynamic in today's NFL of being mobile, having that speed, but also having a really good arm. He has a very, very good arm. I just think the mental processing is a little bit slow, but I definitely think that he deserves to be in the NFL. Does he deserve to be a 5-year, 7-year contract starting quarterback? No, he doesn't. He's going to be someone that probably hops around the league, but he definitely deserves to be here. I think for some teams who are looking to kind of bridge between quarterbacks, he'd be a good quarterback for them. And like I said, for any team, I think he'd be a very good backup quarterback. So I appreciate you for that donation, by the way. RLCS G2 fan with another donation, man. You said, have a good night, bro. You too, my man. I appreciate you for being here. And of course, I appreciate you for giving back to the channel more than anything. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I know it's a late one, but I appreciate you for tuning in for even a little bit. So have a good night. You also have a good night, my guy. Y'all can tell when PG is going late because he starts to get tired. All right. Now, another donation from Lockup. I swear, I always do this. Hosier. And I swear I said this wrong before. But anyway, you said, we really need a number one receiver. NA and KB, Nelson Aguilar, for those who don't know, Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne are nice players, but not a huge threat. Thoughts? So, I do agree. Like, if the Patriots, and I'm not saying they are, I'm not going to be one of those fans like, yo, you Julio Jones to the Patriots, bro. But yeah, if they got Julio Jones, you get Odell Beckham Jr., you got a Jarvis Landry, like, that evens out your offense. I feel like right now the Patriots kind of have guys playing maybe a little bit above and kind of just all around compared to where their true number set is. And what I mean by that is, like, Nelson Aguilar has the ability to be number. Look, if Nelson Aguilar plays like he did last year, he's easily a good number one receiver. Okay. And the best in the NFL, no, but he's still a good number one receiver. If he plays like he did with Philly, he's more of like a 2-3 type of guy. And I think kind of outside of him, we don't really have a number one receiver. And I don't really see anyone taking over to be a true number one. So I do think the Patriots are lacking that true number one guy. I definitely think that they can get past without having a number one guy because, look, they did vamp the wide receiver core for sure. It's better than last year. It's better than the year before. I think Kendrick Bourne is a really, really great addition that's underrated, that fits the Patriots system perfectly. He'll help for the loss of Julian Edelman very, very, very much. And he's also a little bit taller too, so like he can play on the inside and the outside. But I do think the Patriots will play him more so in the inside for the slot because that's where he excelled. But I do agree with you. The Patriots do still need that number one guy at some point. But because they did vamp that receiver core to definitely make it at least average in the NFL, and you have an above average, probably the best tight end core in the entire NFL, that's definitely also going to help compensate for the loss of a number one receiver. So is it one of those needs where you're scrambling saying, hey, the Patriots need to get this guy before the start of the season? No, but it definitely is still on the back of your mind. Like, hey, if there's any way we can still grab a number one receiver, you do it. And I think if they grab a true number one receiver in the NFL, a proven guy, I mean, the Patriots team just looks scary. One of my other thoughts to kind of piggyback off of something you said that I was thinking about earlier was that, look, you have like Nelson Aguilar and Trey Nixon, who are speedsters. They're receiving threats down the field. They're deep threats. Cam Newton throws a really good deep ball. That's where he excels. So it makes sense for this season if Cam Newton's your starter. And that's why I think Cam Newton will be the starter. But like down the road, you have question marks for like when Mac Jones takes over because he doesn't have a great deep ball. It's not terrible, but it's nothing special. A big part of that is more so because he doesn't have arm strength. He works between the 10 to 20 yard range, those short to intermediate routes. So like when you have these speedsters, you're kind of like, they don't pair up too well with a Mac Jones. So I'll be very curious to see how that pans out. All right, let me see. Let me scroll up. Let's see some other comments. Brady Anderson, what's going on? Mac Jones, biggest fan. So I can't find the comment. I'm trying to find it. All right, here it is. From Ashley, you mentioned a good point earlier that I did want to touch on, and that is Sony Michel. And I'll probably make a video on this just within itself because it's a very popular topic, and it's reasonably so. So the 85 of you watching this right now get a little sneak preview into my mind until that video comes out. But I think the Patriots will potentially field offers for Sony Michel. But in the end, I could see them keeping him. And what I mean by that is this team, and you're going to hear me talk about this later because I have a video dropping maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, on how Bill Belichick will take the same approach with Mac Jones that he did Tom Brady. And the running game, sneak preview into that video, is very evident and important to the offense being successful, not just with Mac Jones, but also with Cam Newton. So it's going to be very, very important for them to keep that. And you look at their roster with running backs, right? Brandon Bolden has never been a guy that gets too much touches. Now, he did start to get more over the last couple of years, especially with Miami, and then when the Patriots picked him up, when Miami released him. But for the most part, you don't really see him getting touches. He's more of a special teamer. Does he even make the team? We'll have to see. But then you also have Damien Harris, who has had some injury concerns, and he's kind of like that number one running back. And then Sony Michel also, he has some injury concerns there too. And then you also have James White, who doesn't really get injured, had a little bit of a down year last year, understandably so, what he was going through. But you hope that he can kind of revamp his career, even with Cam Newton being under center, not Tom Brady. But I think you want to keep Sony Michel just because, Sony Michel over his career has averaged over 4 yards. It's like 4.5, 4 point, something like that. I think it's 4.5 yards per carry over his entire career. That's what he's averaging. And so I think a lot of people get on Sony Michel a little bit too much. He's dealt with some injuries. Yeah, I would say in 2019, he definitely had more of a down year. But he's still a good running back. He has the ability to still be a good running back. He's not going to be dual threat. He doesn't catch passes. He's not a great pass blocker. But look, as a pure running back, he is still a good running back who can help move the chains. And if the Patriots are going to continue to rely on this running game, it's going to be important to keep him. Because you have Damien Harris, Sony Michel, James White, and Ramondre Stevenson. That's 4 running backs, and understandably so. Let's keep in mind Rex Burkhead probably isn't coming back to the Pats. Ramondre Stevenson, also a rookie. So we'll have to see kind of how the Patriots decide to take on Ramondre Stevenson. Do they redshirt him like they've done with a few other running backs before? I don't think they will. I don't really think they need to, but it's up to Bill Belichick, not me. So we'll have to see which route he decides to go with that. So I could see the Patriots trading Sony Michel only if it comes down to them needing to open roster spots and being like, well, we're in a tough position. We don't want to release Sony. I guess let's try to trade him. Now, I don't think you get too much trade value out of Sony Michel just because obviously the Patriots are stacked. And if they don't trade him, they might just release him. I don't think they will, but some teams might think that. And just running backs in general, there's so many of them because it's not like cornerback. It's not like wide receiver where you need so many of them because still so many teams rely on just one running back. Now, a lot of teams are switching to running back by committee, just like the Patriots, but a lot of teams still only rely on one running back. So there's not really too many need for a bunch of these guys. Like there's still high quality guys on the open market that you could sign. So really, you're not going to get much out of Sony Michel, if anything, trade value wise, though. Let me go back to the chat. Oh. Crispy Chris, you said, PG, where do you think our defense will rank next season? I would say top 5 and really high on the improved defense. Me too. I actually talked about this earlier, like right in the beginning of the video, if you do want to check that out. But yeah, I definitely think this team has the ability to be a top 5 defense this season for sure. For sure. Open. It looks like we got another donation. Yes. Who's your? Lock up who's your. Got you. It's an Indiana thing. All right, that's cool. That's cool. I vibe with that. When are you getting your Mac Attack jersey? And do you believe he starts at all this season? Another great question. Um, so I was actually so pumped after the draft. I was about to buy the jersey, but I want to wait. I want to wait till we get his number. Like, I don't want a Mac Jones jersey with like 1 on it because that's not going to be his number. Mac Jones isn't going to wear number 1. So I want to wait to see what number he's going to wear for his career and then buy the jersey so I can rock it and then not like rock a Mac Jones jersey that has 1 if he's like 10. Or like, what if he wears some like weird number? Like, what if he wears like 9 and it's like, yo, why are you wearing 1, dude? So I'm going to wait till we get the official number for Mac Jones, and then I'm going to get my jersey, just trying to play it smart. So I don't have like a Mac Jones jersey that says like 10 and then one that says 1 on it for some reason. And do I believe he starts this season? So I've gone back and forth with myself on this one. And it's not a yes, but it's not a no. I think Cam Newton is on a much shorter leash than he was last season. You know, in the end, Belichick was like, I'm going to put in Brian Hoyer or Jared Stidham, who, when they were given the chance against the Chiefs, really didn't look great at all. No, my best chance is still with Cam, despite how bad he's playing, and he wasn't wrong. Now, you have a guy who was a first-round pick, 15th overall, fit your system like a glove. I think it's all going to depend on how he comes into the system. How does minicamp go? Training camp, OTAs, rookie minicamp, which is to start next week, actually, for the Patriots. So excited for that. By the way, so stoked that we get an actual offseason. Also, by the way, hearing that we're probably going to get 3 preseason games. So might be seeing Mac Attack in the preseason. So, oh my God, yo, I'm so excited for this offseason, or the regular season, but also like off-season programs. But I'm also a believer that you don't push your quarterback into his first year starting. I think there's very few quarterbacks you would do that with. Trevor Lawrence, I understand so. Trey Lance, I don't think you do that. I think it's stupid if you put Trey Lance as a starting quarterback week 1 of his rookie season. I think it's smart to kind of ease them into things, let them be comfortable. You don't want to shake their confidence. If you shake a player's confidence, their gameplay can just shoot down. Confidence is everything in the NFL. We talk about coverage skills. We talk about speed. We talk about strength, size, height. Nobody talks about confidence, and that is so important. You want to look at somebody like Cyrus Jones. Cyrus Jones played much better when he originally came with the Patriots and practiced the preseason playing in Alabama when he had all this confidence. And Pat's Nation was clamoring at him and clamoring, and he started performing poorly, and then he was performing more poorly because he had no confidence. So I think it's smart to kind of let Mac Jones sit back, learn from these other quarterbacks, learn the ropes of the NFL. I think that he is coming from Alabama, so like it isn't going to be as big of a transition as some of these other quarterbacks. Playing from a big college that turned into the NFL shouldn't be too hard, especially for Mac Jones. Playing with Alabama, then going to the Patriots, 2 very similar systems, shouldn't be too hard. I think the absolute soonest Belichick would start him would be like halfway into the season. I think it all depends on like a bye week too. So like if the Patriots have an early bye week, chances are you won't see Mac Jones. But hey, maybe if the Patriots have like a week 8 bye week, then and things aren't going well with Cam Newton, maybe they go, all right, during this bye week, we're going to kind of have Mac Jones familiar with the system so that, you know, after the bye week, he can get thrown into the game. So I think it all kind of depends on Cam Newton, you know, just is he performing well? Is he not performing well? If he performs how he did last season, then maybe we see Mac Jones. But if he performs better than he did last season, then, you know, I believe we won't. In the end, I think Belichick wants to redshirt Mac Jones. I mean, if Belichick is going to redshirt running backs, why wouldn't he do it with a quarterback, which is the most important position in football? And I totally understand why he would. So I think it's very, you know, evident though on how Cam Newton plays ultimately and also how Mac Jones develops. But if I had to take a shot in the dark just right now before any of these programs start, I would say he probably doesn't play this season. I think he'll get like garbage time. But if we're talking about like starting quarterback, like starting games and being the number 1 QB for the Pats, I'll probably roll with no. Another donation here from the ignorant Bostonian. Ooh, what a name. It's a cool one. Great show. Hey, I really appreciate that. Thank you for being here. You said thoughts on Harry and or Gilmore being traded, and if they were, what do you think the return value would be for each? So good question. I definitely don't think Gilmore gets traded. I really don't. You look at what they did this whole offseason, free agency, draft. They went hard to build this team up to be competitive for 2021. If you trade Stephon Gilmore, you instantly become worse. I mean, you look at the cornerback position for the Patriots. Who do they have? Who do they have to be a starting cornerback, right? J.C. Jackson would probably get thrusted into that role, and we saw that he's not ready to be a number one cornerback in this league yet. But also, that would mean that you need a number two guy. I think it'd be smart to keep, if you did trade Gilmore, to keep J.C. Jackson probably at number two and then try to find another number one corner, but they just don't have that on the depth chart. I mean, we talked about this, I believe, in a recent video, but Jalen Mills looked like he potentially might be more playing of a safety rather than a corner. Jonathan Jones plays in the slot. Jawan Williams, we haven't really seen much from him. He didn't look good on the outside when we saw him. He's more a corner that plays actually against tight ends. So I've seen more safety from Jawan Williams than I have actual cornerback. And then Justin Bethel's a special teamer, and Miles Bryant also plays at safety. He's small. He's like 5'9". You don't want to play him on the outside. So, yeah, they don't have an answer for Stephon Gilmore. Free agency is pretty dried up at this point. Richard Sherman is looking like he's about to sign with the 49ers again. They didn't get any corners in this draft. I would think that the trade of a Stephon Gilmore or J.C. Jackson is pretty much dead at this point. But N'Keal Harry isn't out of the question. But if you're still curious on like what could they potentially get for like a Stephon Gilmore, I could see like maybe a second rounder, and maybe a late rounder, maybe. Still likely not a first round pick. I don't see that. I think that's pretty much died down at this point. As for a N'Keal Harry, that would be more likely. Now, I do think Belichick wants to see what can N'Keal Harry do with Mac Jones. N'Keal Harry didn't do too bad with Tom Brady in his rookie season, but let's remember he came in very late and he was dealing with injuries. So, Brady also doesn't like to throw to these young rookies, but he did show promise in that year one. Then year two, you had Cam Newton throwing the ball, and we all thought, hey, maybe this could be a really good connection. And N'Keal Harry still didn't look great year two. But actually, if you go back and you look at the coach's film, you would see that N'Keal Harry got open more times than not, but Cam Newton just isn't able to get through his progressions. Cam Newton has trouble getting through his progressions. And when he would see N'Keal Harry, a lot of times it would be too late, tries to get him the ball, and it just makes N'Keal Harry look bad. So, hey, maybe Belichick wants to see, can Mac Jones, the future quarterback, build something with our former first-round pick? And then if he sees, hey, this just is not working out, like N'Keal is just not going to fit us, not our system, isn't going to work for us at all, then maybe he ships them off. I don't see the Patriots getting much. Now, he was a late first-round pick, and I think that does hold value. I think at best you get a third-round pick, but I could see anywhere between like a third to fifth round pick for N'Keal Harry if they decided to trade him. But if they do, like I said, I think it would be later on into the offseason. Like I think they want to see what N'Keal Harry has, and can he build this connection with like Mac Jones. Yeah. You also pointed out Sherman doesn't fit us. You're right. Sherman doesn't fit us. So even if he was available, it wouldn't really be much of a fit because he plays in more of a zone-heavy defense rather than like a man. Lockup, who's your my man? What another donation. You said, regardless of what happens, I respect Cam about I respect Cam a lot now and appreciate him as a Pats fan. He is a stand-up dude, and obviously the team loved him. Can you say it louder for the people in the back? I agree completely with you. I used to actually have my my opinions on Cam Newton back in the day when he just seemed like an a-hole. Like he just seemed like a cocky, like, and then all that, crap came out about him and the female reporter. So I wasn't too fond of him back in the day, but over the last couple of years, I would say I've become more fond of him. And just kind of who he's become. I think he's become a better person over the last couple of years. And especially once he signed with the Patriots, when you got to see it close up, like he's a really great guy. Like they give him a little bit too much hate, more hate than I think Cam Newton truly deserves. And yeah, like he wants to be a Patriot. He wants the competition. He welcomes in the competition, and like he gives back more than people give credit for. And he has his own children too. Which people honestly, like some people don't even know he has children, and he has multiple children. He doesn't have just one. He has a few of them actually. And just overall what he's done for this team, despite being in a bad position last year, like you got to give him credit. He's came in here. He's done everything that was asked of him. He has a great connection with Belichick, and he just brings happiness. He brings fun to the Patriots locker room, and just who he is off the field with the Pats in the locker room. Like these guys have praised him so much. And I mean, I have a ton of respect now for Cam Newton after what we've seen, like one-on-one with him as Pats fans. So I agree with you completely. Like no matter what happens with Cam Newton, no matter where he goes, I respect the heck out of him. And the fact that he wanted to come back to New England specifically because he was like, there's unfinished business. I mean, respect to him and the love he's given Pats Nation, the love he's given to Belichick and Kraft. Like he's been a really good guy. He's been a really great guy. Like he could have, the way people made him seem a couple of years ago, it sounded like he could have been like an Antonio Brown, but not at all. Not at all. So honestly, Cam Newton is like one of my favorite players just because of like what I've seen from him as a person. Nothing but respect for him. And like even just holding like his camps that he does goes so underlooked that he gives back. I believe I'm saying this right. Kabori Dawkins. I think I'm saying that right. Let me know if I'm not. I'm sorry if I'm not, but I believe I am. I appreciate you for the donation. Also appreciate you for being here. So shout out to you. You said if the Patriots were trading for a receiver, what do you think of players like Odell, Andy Isabella, or Christian Kirk? Some good names there. Some really good names. So I wouldn't mind Odell, but I feel like the question is, what would they want for Odell? But also, would they really trade Odell? Because they made the playoffs last year. The Browns are looking like a really good team, and Odell was finally looking like a factor for them last year before getting injured. Do they really want to trade him? I don't know about that. But I wouldn't give up a first-round pick for Odell Beckham Jr. And if that's something they're looking for, I would personally pass. I also haven't heard any trade rumors involving him. Ultimately, I just feel like the Browns probably don't want to. But I would definitely trade for Odell if it wasn't a first-round pick easily. As for Andy Isabella, I probably pass on him just because I feel like Andy Isabella is going to bring that same purpose of Nelson Aguilar and a Trey Nixon. He's fast. He gets down the field quick. But he isn't really anything special. He isn't anything special with route running or footwork or anything. He's just very, very fast and gets down the field quick. And I feel like we already have two of those guys. Kind of what's the purpose? I also don't believe Andy Isabella has done anything crazy with stats. Let me actually look that up real quick. Because I know they wanted Andy Isabella to be a bigger factor, and they thought he was going to. But it just never happened. Like, that's part of why they got D-Hop. That's part of why they had to go out this offseason and get an AJ Green. So I feel like if things were going as well with Andy Isabella as some people make it seem they wouldn't have had to get these receivers. He put up, yeah, no. See, he only put up 224 yards in 2020 and 189 in 2019. How many yards is he averaging? He averaged 21 yards per reception in 2019. He only had 9 receptions, though, and then averaged 10.7 in 2020. Yeah, does he have any touchdowns? Oh, wow. He had 10 touchdowns in 2020 and 4 touchdowns in 2019. I can't believe he had 10 touchdowns in 2020. He doesn't really seem like someone who would be a red zone threat because it's also small. Ultimately, I'd probably pass on Andy Isabella. Like, I don't think he's going to bring you too much. But I would trade for a Christian Kirk. I would trade for a Christian Kirk. I don't know if he's your number one guy. Like, I don't know if he's a pure number one guy, but Christian Kirk's a really, really nice piece. He would definitely help bolster the wide receiver position. So he's another guy that I would trade for, depending on the trade value, of course. I don't think he would be up for grabs. But I would definitely make the call and just see what they want in return. But I just think there's some other, like if we're talking about a pure number one receiver, I just think there are some other guys they should look into if they want to get like an actual number one guy, not a number two guy that you hope can kind of develop into a number one. Because I feel like they already have enough of them. Whoopsies. Whoopsies. Again. Neil Ray, what is up? Gonna look for another conversational starter. Let me look at the statistics here of the chat so far. How we wait, that's not it. Hi. Packing up mail, it's gone. Hey, I got smell cologne. What the heck? I genuinely don't know what any of this means. Yeah. All right, let me see. Neil Ray makes a good point about Stephon Gilmore. So I don't know. Bill Belichick always looks to the future when he knows guys are about to leave. He didn't address corner at all. He let Jason McCourty go to the Dolphins. I don't know. That doesn't seem like a Bill Belichick move. And there's just a lot of uncertainty a year from now when Stephon Gilmore and JC Jackson, your 2 starting cornerbacks, leave in free agency, or will hit free agency rather. This could be a Bill Belichick move where, oh, there's a spider, bro. Oh, I don't mess with that. I don't mess with that. Anyway, I'm gonna keep my eye on that. Where we're hearing, hey, maybe he trades Stephon Gilmore, maybe he trades JC Jackson. Both of those guys are set to hit free agency. Maybe he extends one of those. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. And I'm actually asking Bill Belichick to extend one of those guys. I think you need to, because you don't let both of them hit free agency and potentially, I don't know how much money they'll have for 2022 just yet. But you don't let both of them hit free agency. You need to have insurance on at least one of these guys going forward. And I could honestly see him wanting insurance on Stephon Gilmore rather than JC Jackson, just because in the end, we'll have to see how Gilmore comes back from this injury, but he's shown that he's a pure, true lockdown corner. Is he going to get you 9 interceptions every season like JC Jackson? No, but he's a number one shutdown lockdown corner who can go up against any receiver. And I think that's more valuable than 9 interceptions a season from like a JC Jackson. So I could see him probably, like, if he can get an extension done with Gilmore for like another 3 years, maybe I could see that's something he would potentially do. Oh no. Oh no. Beast mode! What is going on? Hey, yo, y'all about to see me kill a whole spider right now. Nah, this dude's going above my head. Nope, going above my head. I don't mess with that. He'll start shooting webs at me, turn me into Spider-Man. The ignorant Bostonian is back at it again with another donation. We love to see it, you goat. You said, now that the draft is over, thoughts on the Pats' biggest roster needs and how they should address it. So the Patriots definitely don't need defensive line. They don't need defensive tackle. They don't need defensive end. Biggest need for the Patriots, I'd probably still say adding another receiver. I think that's probably the biggest need. I'm not too sure exactly who is even available at this point in free agency. Probably not really anyone, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, there's probably not a lot of people free agency wise left at this point. So you might be looking more so towards like a trade. Maybe Belichick does like a rookie in his contract year and makes a trade that way. But I still think adding like a true, or maybe no, honestly, Belichick could wait until these teams have to like get down and cut their rosters when all these players are randomly getting released and potentially traded. I think that's when he could jump and maybe add a receiver. But I would say that's probably one of the biggest needs still for the Patriots is to add like another guy, just because Nelson Aguilar, great addition. Bourne, another great addition. Jacoby Myers, great. But you lost Julian Edelman. So that's one guy out. And then really, do you really want to rely on like a Gunnar Olszewski, N'Keal Harry, Wilkerson, Isaiah Zuber? You know what I'm saying? Like those guys don't stand out to you. Those are guys that are like practice squad-esque type of guys. Gunnar Olszewski, maybe he can take that leap. He's obviously going to make the roster because of his elite ability on special teams. But we haven't seen anything from him as a receiver to really hold our breaths just yet. So I'd probably say as a receiver, that's probably in an area for the Patriots to still add just yet. Just because, again, your top three receivers are Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, who are just coming into the Patriots, Jacoby Myers. So, and you don't really want to rely on N'Keal Harry. So I would definitely say adding receivers probably the biggest still for the Patriots. And then maybe even depth at corner if you can. I would still like to see them add a receiver and a decent corner still. I'd like to see them add that, at least as camp bodies, and let's just see what they can bring. And if it's good, we keep them on the 53 and then go from there. But I think some depth at corner, but then also, especially if they didn't address it in the draft, but then also, another wide receiver, I would say. I don't mess with this, yo. Can I elaborate on the undrafted free agents? Yes, I can. So it's an excellent question. I know a lot of people have question marks on this. So the Patriots always get like 10 to 15 UDFAs at the conclusion of every single draft. This year, we were all waiting like, okay, where are the UDFA signings? There was none. The Patriots, a few days later, finally made one, and it was a kicker out of Michigan. Not too much to brag about, not too much to talk about. So the big reason that I'm hearing on why the Patriots haven't really looked into UDFAs and why actually a few other teams haven't also is because a year ago from now, this whole pandemic was going on. The NFL was trying to figure out, are we going to have a season? How's this offseason going to go? And one of the big things they had was if you had a 90-man roster, because in the offseason, now it's moving again. In the offseason, you get 90 players, right? The 90-man roster. Then you got to take it down to 53. So if you had a full 90-man roster, you had to have two separate fields. So like the Patriots would have half of their team practicing in Gillette and then half the team on the practice field. Or you could have like 80 or 85 players or something like that. I think it was like 83, somewhere between there. And you could have everybody practice on the same field. Currently, the Patriots are at like 80 something players right now. So they don't want to add a bunch of UDFAs if the NFL says, hey, if you have a 90-man roster, you have to cut the field in half. And then the Patriots go, well, we want to practice on one field. Now we have to release all these players. So essentially they're waiting to hear, okay, is the NFL going to allow all 90 players to practice on the same field, or are we going to have to split fields again? If they are allowed to practice all 90 players on one field, expect the Patriots to make a ton of UDFA signings. If the NFL says, no, you have to split, and if you have 90 players, but if you have like 80 players, you don't have to split, expect them to have 80 players on the roster and not sign any UDFAs. Nah, that dude was climbing everywhere. Could we trade Rex Burkhead? Burkhead's a free agent. Y'all got to kill this. Y'all are going to see me kill a spider. Welcome to the inside of Patriots Global. I don't know what to use. Hey, yo, what do I... Yo, should I just like... I don't know what to do. I'll just grab a bunch of tissues and we'll do it that way. This channel goes beyond football now. Now I'm an exterminator also. A book? Ha, Neil Ray, bro. You think I read? Unless it's like the TB12 method, I'm going to be so honest with you. I don't really read. All right. Here we go, y'all. Not me on the swivel chair. Not me on this. Oh, yo, nah, he mad. He mad. Damn, Neil, now I wish I had a book. This might make me start to read a little more. We got it, y'all. We did it. We did it. Mission accomplished. Tell your friends. Period. Chase gave a celebratory bark. Yo, I don't even know what he's doing. Come here. No? All right. I told you need a book. Oh, shoot. All right, so we almost forgot. We almost lost this one while we was being exterminators. But Neil Ray says extend JC, trade or extend Gilly, get Hayward the corner. Is Hayward still available? I feel like he just got signed. Let me look. Casey Hayward. Yeah, so Hayward is an American football cornerback for the Las Vegas Raiders. So, yeah. Yeah, so unfortunately, Hayward isn't available either. So that's why. That's why, like, me personally, I'll make sure that you know. Like, me personally, like, I don't think there's really much of anyone, like, of a starting caliber cornerback, which is why I don't see them trading them. I wouldn't be mad if they extended JC or Stephon, but I just could see Belichick going the route of Stephon just because he's a veteran, lockdown cornerback, true number one. Just seems like a Belichick move. Hold up. Ben, what is going on? How are you? I appreciate you for that donation. You already know. You said, hey, man, big fan of the channel. Ben, I appreciate that. You said, who are some of the most likely number one wide receivers that you could see the Pats realistically trading for? So honestly, the Patriots probably won't make any like huge signings for receivers just because they did go out and get two big receivers or big tight ends. They did also add two receivers in Nelson Aguilar and Bourne. So I could see them being pretty comfortable with where they're at and then maybe adding like another average to maybe a slightly above average wide receiver. Maybe like a Sterling Shepard-esque type of a receiver of that type of value. But look, you do have Julio Jones. That's still floating around. I think depending on what they're asking for, the Patriots could be in on Julio Jones just because they're one of the only teams that has the money to make it work. They have a little bit above 15 million right now. Now that money is going to go down when Patrick Chung retires and also when you sign all of your recently drafted players. So the Patriots would have to make a little bit more money. Won't be that hard because for the majority, you'll still have that majority of your money still. And they're one of the only teams that honestly at this point can truly say so. So if the Falcons do want to ship him off, depending on the asking price, the Patriots could be in on him, especially because Julio Jones has been linked to the Patriots several times in the past. There was actually one point a couple years ago where a trade almost actually happened for Julio Jones to the Patriots. And then obviously the Falcons are like, no, we're not going to trade him. We're not going to trade him. That's not going to happen. So I could see that happening. If for some reason Odell does get put on the block, I could see the Patriots very realistically going after him. But yeah, honestly, I could just see this being a situation where if the Patriots do add another receiver, they're going to add like another mid-tier receiver rather than like one of these high-end guys. You know, you're not going to have a bunch of names like number one wide receivers in this league where they're always going to be talked about trading for because, hey, they're number one guys. Like the teams want to keep those guys. They're hard to find. So I think there would only be a couple guys. But again, I just think realistically, Belichick is probably comfortable with what he has. It's obviously an upgrade over last year and even the year before, probably even the year before that. So I could see him going more like mid-tier, maybe like a little above average, but probably not like elite number one. But if for some reason he does want to go that route, those are some guys that I could see him realistically saying, hey, why not? Neil Ray with another donation. He says, you got me dying. LOL. You said going to need that book. Yes, sir, Neil. Maybe you could ship it to me or something because I'm going to be so honest. Wait. I mean, I got my like sister's like college, like work stuff. One day she's going to open that thing up, like ready for class. And she's just going to see that dead spider in there. And she's going to start freaking out. Like, how the heck did that get in there? I'm going to be like, I don't know. I'll be like, Neil told me to do it. But true Pats fan, what is going on? You said, can we get Stidham for anything? Because the way I see it, Stidham finna be one string sandwich marker at McDonald's in 2022. I honestly could see this being a situation where no team wants to trade for him just because they know if anything, he'll just be released by the Patriots. But I think in a perfect world, the Patriots actually get Jarrett Stidham back on the practice squad. I think the Patriots would very much like to do that. Will he make it past? I don't know. I could honestly see another team grabbing him being like, hey, you played for the Patriots for a couple of years. We're going to snatch you. I think at the very best, they could get maybe like a comp or not a comp, but a conditional 7th round pick. I think at most that's what you're looking for, but I don't really see too much teams doing that, but you never know. Like there's always some surprise. Maybe a team like the Texans decide to go for that for some reason. Let me check something. Hi, packing a mail is gone. I gotta smell cologne. Yeah, just how I did. Yeah. Why is this not working? Oh wait, I think I got it. Period. Does it say what like our peak viewers was? What was our peak viewers today? Honestly, not sure. Beats me. But y'all, I think we're gonna pop out. We've got another donation here. We're definitely gonna go live more. Maybe what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Monday. Maybe we'll go live again tomorrow. Maybe we'll, obviously earlier. Tassar Bamba, you said I'm way too hyped about Mac Jones. Tell me why I shouldn't be. I gotta temper my expectations. I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you on being high on Mac Jones and excited for Mac Jones. I mean, 15th overall pick fits the Patriots like a glove. Like, how can you not be excited for that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have every reason in the world to be excited. The only thing I could tell you to not be too excited for is like, hey, you're going to have to wait a little while to like see him as your starting quarterback because Cam Newton is still there. And also the factor of like, you're going to get more of a Tom Brady offense than a Cam Newton offense, meaning that you're not going to get these huge splash plays with Mac Jones that you might get more with like a Cam Newton. You're going to get more of that like offense that you had with Brady. So if you hated that offense with Brady, you might not be too excited about Mac Jones. That's like the only thing I got. My boy Neil Ray with another one. You said you have to go live more, 3 or 4 Tuesday roast. Thank you. Tez on roast. Yeah, no, we'll definitely go live more. I'm just trying to think about my schedule this week. I know Thursday I work, Monday. So I'm taking Chase to the vet tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. And depending on when we work things out, like with him, maybe I'll go live tomorrow. If I don't go live tomorrow, I'll definitely go live Wednesday for sure. I'll try to go live tomorrow night, but if we don't go tomorrow night, we'll definitely go Wednesday. Maybe we'll even be able to go both. Three to 4 tight ends. I don't know why I read it like that. Yeah, I'm so tired. Not going to lie. 3 or 4 tight ends on the roster. I'm not gonna lie, like this, like on the like little thing where the comments pop up, it's like so small. So I gotta like zoom in like with my whole body to see the stuff. 3 or 4 tight ends on the roster. So Hunter Henry, Johnny Smith, Asiasi. I'll say this. If Belichick grabs another receiver, 3. If Belichick doesn't grab another receiver, maybe 4. I think the only like tight. One sec, y'all. I think that the tight end that would get cut would be Dalton Keene. I think Asiasi brings more of an ability as a receiver And I think that he's not a bad blocker. So I think he's a better all-around tight end. I think that they definitely would go that route of Asiasi over Dalton Keene, which would it would stink if they got rid of both or even one of them this early, as they traded up in the 3rd round to get both of them just a year ago. But obviously you added 2 elite tight ends who are going to be on your roster. So Dalton Keene could be that guy out. But like I said, maybe they decide to go with all of them if they don't add another receiver. I don't think it's the smart move. But again, does Belichick want to admit that, hey, I traded up in the 3rd round to draft 2 tight ends just a year ago, and I already have to get rid of one of them? So we'll just have to see. The Patriots do go usually with about 3 tight ends. We'll have to see if this year's different. But yeah, that's the route I would say, like how they would go about 3 or 4. All right, y'all, but I think we're going to pop out for that one. It's about an hour and 15 minutes. So I appreciate y'all for coming into this live stream. Super, super fun. I know it's super late. I still got to pop out with a video about Mac Jones and woo. So I got to get that all done. So I appreciate y'all for watching. I'm going to leave this up if you guys want to go back and watch me kill a spider. But like always, I appreciate all of you for watching, and I appreciate everybody that donated today. Y'all are the OGs. I appreciate you. Like always, go Pats. Peace out.